So this all started because I got the question, should I do front-end development or back-end development? Well, what if I told you you're going about this problem all wrong? Now, these are not bad questions to have, and I'm not saying they are. These are questions that I had all the time. They are very natural questions. What I want to offer to you is that when you have these questions, you're thinking about things in the wrong way. And that would be that personality is fit to job title. So this is simply a fallacy. These job titles were not created because they fit certain types of people. They were created because they work well in industry. And actually, when you look at them, they are almost meaningless to a degree. What one front-end developer does is going to be way different from what another front-end developer does. And we tend to compare each other by job title. And that's something that we probably shouldn't do. Because I can tell you, with interacting with other people in the community, that what I do as a ServiceNow developer is not even remotely close in a lot of cases to what someone else does as a ServiceNow developer. There are a lot of other dimensions to even these job titles. And thinking that this job title matches who I am is just not accurate. So what should you do to figure out what you like? Well, it's not as easy as you'd probably like it to be or I'd like it to be, but there are two main things that I've identified that can help you with this. And the first one is, what sucks you in? I've had several experiences that have informed this, and I'll probably have more in the future. But when I say what sucks you in, this is sort of the example I'm talking about. So I have this new camera, and it's fun for me to mess around with this camera. And all it is this really expensive military-grade security camera that I managed to get my hands on, managed to wire up with the help of my family, and now there's a bunch of software around it. And I find myself doing things like, if the server were to lose power or restart, can I make it start up on its own? And that's not really so much of a coding thing as it's like a Linux command line thing. And I find myself being sucked into it. When I say sucked in, I mean, I don't really have anything monetarily to gain. If I walk away at any moment from trying to get this server to start up when power fluctuates, if I just walk away, everything is going to be fine in my life. There's really not a lot of motivation that I can see for me to keep pursuing this. But what I find is that I am still doing it. And there's a lot of other examples I can cite in my career that there have been problems I'm working on that are generally coding problems that I can totally let this go until the next day. But if I do, I won't be able to stop thinking about it. Now, I'm not trying to say that this is always a positive experience, because it isn't always a positive experience. With the camera one in particular, there were times that I was starting to smash my fists on the desk and say, dang, this thing is stubborn, And, I was not always happy going throughout it. It was not always a fun time, but I kept going. And that's something that you kind of have to see in yourself. Now, there might be times where you do have good reasons to keep doing this, and times that you don't. And the times that you don't are much better teachers. That, there's something keeping you pushing towards this. There's something keeping you focused on it. You might not be happy in the moment, but you're still going, and you're still pushing towards that goal for some reason. Where in your life, no doubt, if you've gone through college especially, there have definitely been things where you just literally don't want to be there for another second. You want to get out as fast as you can. You just want it to be over at any moment. If you could walk away, you would, and you would not want to do this for any other reason but because you have something external to gain. And I've had both of those experiences, but the more rare ones are the ones that you're kind of continuing to do this thing, maybe looking at the clock and saying, oh, there's something else I really should be doing. And this is something that I can kind of equate to video games for a lot of people. That I think, people that have, been playing video games, and you look at the clock and you say, I really should be working on this college paper. I really should be doing this other thing that I need to be doing in my life, but I'm doing this and I kind of just don't want to stop. And if this is happening to you in something you're working on, this is a clue as to what it is that you want to do. Now, unfortunately, if it's something between front end and back end development, you're probably not going to find it 100% in front end development or 100% in back end development, because I can tell you I found it in both. There are things that I want to accomplish and I'm just sort of sucked in until I get it. Whether it be that I want this div, this piece of the website to be in a certain place, or I just want this huge crazy data thing to work where it pulls in a whole ton of data and pushes out the right values. Both of those things kind of get me in the same way. And so that's when I sort of started to realize that there wasn't really a match between the job title or specifically what I'm doing and what is sucking me in. Now, there is another thing to consider, and that is, how do you feel afterwards? So this is unfortunately where it starts to get a little bit complicated. And that's that you might think because you get sucked into something, that means it's for you, and it can be the complete opposite in a lot of circumstances. So one question I've asked myself a lot is, do I want to stay technical in my career, or do I want to go into a management role? And I think a lot of this came from, there's always that push when, I'm a decent people person. I'm good enough with people to have a YouTube channel. And whenever that happens and you're a competent person and you're reliable, there's always, I think, sort of a little bit of a push to, hey, in your career, do you want to move in the direction of management? Now, there's a lot of scary influences on this one, because a lot of times if you're talking to that with someone in management, they are sort of biased to want you to go in that direction. But I think that goes a little bit outside of the point of what I'm trying to talk about. Now, you have to try to accurately consider what this path entails. And that can be rather difficult. It's like with me with management, because I don't really do management. But there are some things that I walk away feeling good from. When I have kind of led people in a role and I feel like we've got through, something, a challenge, a hurdle. And I feel good after that. And I feel good about myself for having been in more of a leadership type position. I do. But I do also really get sucked into it. And so that's both of the things, right? I get sucked into it and I enjoy it. But the problem is when I walk away from it, a lot of times I don't feel good. Now, the scenario I just described to you, I do feel good, but there's a lot of other scenarios where, part of management, at least I feel, and someone can tell me if I'm wrong, is having a vision and having a way to set out, towards doing things, and sort of, I want to say, arguing for it, sort of pushing to make that a reality. And that's in a lot of different ways, but a lot of them, a lot of those ways are kind of through working with other people. And I love working with other people. But I never walk away feeling good when I have a disagreement with someone else, no matter how right I was and how wrong they were, or how well I contain myself. I always walk away from that situation feeling bad. And I feel like that is sort of a part of that role. And that's kind of where I'm saying there's not a one-to-one connection here. That there are sometimes I walk away feeling good, but many more that I walk away feeling bad. And that can be true for basically any of these more basic things. That if you walk away from what you got sucked into and you feel like crap about it, then it's probably not a good thing for you to get into. Because trust me, there are a lot of people out there that have gotten into something because they tend to get sucked into this type of thing that they do, and they walk away feeling like crap. And because of this, and because they've chosen this as a career role, they just feel like crap all the time. Just ask marketing majors. But, sorry, marketing majors, a little bit of a joke. But moving on, how you walk away from these situations you get sucked into is, I'd say, equally as important as if you get sucked into them in the first place. And here is what I found about myself, that there are very basic things that I like and that suck me into them. And they're basically this. They're problem solving is the one thing. It can be in a database, it can be in a program, whether that be front end or back end. It could be on the Linux command line. I don't really care. I just love problems and I love finding the solution to those problems. But there's a little bit more to it. I also really like helping other people with their problems and helping other people find solutions to those problems, or just working with people on problem-solving type situations. I enjoy that. But I tend to like the problem to be kind of binary, that when I find the solution, or when they find the solution, or when we come to a solution, it is obviously a win. It didn't work before, it does work now. When I'm in a solution space that is dealing with something that when we walk away, it isn't super certain, there's that, I have that vulnerability of feeling bad about that situation, or did I make the right decision, or did we make the right decision? And beyond that, I really like what I do to be known. If I solve a problem, if I'm going through a big problem-solving exercise and nobody cares, then I don't care either. And maybe this is, say what you will, what that means about my personality. Hey, I do have a YouTube channel, right? Obviously, I care what people think. I care what the outside world thinks. So these are really basic things. And this might be kind of difficult, because how do you trace that to, should I be a front-end or back-end developer? And my answer is sort of that you can't. And honestly, in a lot of scenarios, you could be happy either way. I can attest to that when I think about front-end or back-end developer, I know I could be happy in either place, because either one introduces problem-solving issues, either one matters to people, and either one introduces the opportunity for me to help others with technical problems. So what I found is that I'm sort of agnostic to both of them. And that is sort of the mistake that we make when we are trying to figure out what we want to do, is we try to find a quick solution, and it's just not that easy. You really have to get to the core of who you are and what makes you tick. So the easiest way to do this is to figure out what sucks you in. And again, that would be things like, am I doing this when I don't have to? Is time passing very quickly? Am I looking at the clock like, I should be doing something else, but I want to keep going? It's probably not maybe to the same degree as video games, but, could be sort of like that. And the other is, how do you feel about what you did afterwards? Do you feel like crap, that you really wish you hadn't done the things you did, or you question yourself constantly? The last one is a little bit debatable. You'll probably question yourself when you're early on either way. Or do you feel pretty good about it? Because most of these things, I walk away from them and I feel good about it. I feel good about working these problems. It just makes me happy. And that is kind of how I know that I'm in a right place. And so that's the final point I want to make. There is no one right place for you. Watch the butterfly effect. A lot of the things that are going to happen to you in your career are not under your control. All you can do is do your best, and you're going to be exposed to the influences that you're exposed to. Let's take the front-end or back-end developer example. Let's say you have a propensity for both. You go for a front-end job and you have bad management, you are working with people that you can't get along with. That might lead you to believe that front-end development was not for you. You go for the back-end and you have good management and things go your way. Maybe even that you're presented with problems that you somehow have had experience with. There's so many things that can dictate your actual experience. None of those truly tell you what is for you, because a lot of the times you could do many of those roles and be very happy in them, and it would all be just fine. So I hope this video helps somebody. I know it's a little convoluted. I know it's not the answer to the question that you want. I know the answer to the question that you'd rather have would be, this is how you know if you like front end, this is how you know if you like back end. But unfortunately, not just with that question, but with all questions in what should I do, what am I suited for, how do I know what I'm suited for, are not that simple. You have to figure out what the core things are in your life that you like, and you have to find a job that will pay you to do those things. And that goes far beyond IT. So again, I hope this helps you guys. Have a good night.